my detective powers. Seeing how fond Pavlicheff was of you, it was thanks to him you went to school and also had the advantage of special teachers, his relations and servants grew to believe that you were his son, and that your father had been betrayed by his wife. I may point out that this idea was only accredited generally during the last years of Pavlicheff's life, when his next of kin were trembling about the succession, when the earlier story was quite forgotten, and when all opportunity for discovering the truth had seemingly passed away. No doubt you, Mr. Burdovsky, heard this conjecture, and did not hesitate to accept it as true. I have had the honour of making your mother's acquaintance, and I find that she knows all about these reports. What she does not know is that you, her son, should have listened to them so complacently. I found your respected mother at Pskoff, ill and in deep poverty, as she has been ever since the death of your benefactor. She told me with tears of gratitude how you had supported her. She expects much of you, and believes fervently in your future success." "Oh, this is unbearable!" said Lebedeff's nephew impatiently. "What is the good of all this romancing?" "It is revolting and unseemly!" cried Hippolyte, jumping up in a fury. Burdovsky alone sat silent and motionless. "What is the good of it?" repeated Gavrila Ardalionovitch with pretended surprise. "Well, firstly, because now perhaps Mr. Burdovsky is quite convinced that Mr. Pavlicheff's love for him came simply from generosity of soul, and not from paternal duty. It was most necessary to impress this fact upon his mind, considering that he approved of the article written by Mr. Keller. I speak thus because I look on you, Mr. Burdovsky, as an honourable man. Secondly, it appears that there was no intention of cheating in this case, even on the part of Tchebaroff. I wish to say this quite plainly, because the prince hinted a while ago that I too thought it an attempt at robbery and extortion. On the contrary, everyone has been quite sincere in the matter. And although Tchebaroff may be somewhat of a rogue, in this business he has acted simply as any sharp lawyer would do under the circumstances. He looked at it as a case that might bring him in a lot of money, and he did not calculate badly, because on the one hand he speculated on the generosity of the prince and his gratitude to the late Mr. Pavlicheff, and on the other to his chivalrous ideas as to the obligations of honour and conscience. As to Mr. Burdovsky, allowing for his principles, we may acknowledge that he engaged in the business with very little personal aim in view. At the instigation of Tchebaroff and his other friends, he decided to make the attempt in the service of truth, progress, and humanity. In short, the conclusion may be drawn that, in spite of all appearances, Mr. Burdovsky is a man of irreproachable character, and thus the prince can all the more readily offer him his friendship, and the assistance of which he spoke just now. "Hush, hush, Gavrila Ardalionovitch!" cried Muishkin in dismay, but it was too late. "I said, and I've repeated it over and over again," shouted Burdovsky furiously, "that I did not want the money. I will not take it. What? I will not. I'm going away." He was rushing hurriedly from the terrace when Lebedeff's nephew seized his arms and said something to him in a low voice. Burdovsky turned quickly, and drawing an addressed but unsealed envelope from his pocket, he threw it down on a little table beside the prince. "There's the money! How dare you? There's the money. Those are the 250 roubles you dared to send him as a charity by the hands of Tchebaroff," explained Doktorenko.
The article in the newspaper put it at 50, cried Colia. "I beg your pardon," said the prince, going up to Burdovsky. "I have done you a great wrong, but I did not send you that money as a charity, believe me. And now I am again to blame. I offended you just now." The prince was much distressed. He seemed worn out with fatigue, and spoke almost incoherently. "I spoke of swindling, but I did not apply that to you. I was deceived. I said you were afflicted, like me. But you are not like me. You give lessons, you support your mother. I said you had dishonoured your mother, but you love her. She says so herself. I did not know. Gavrila Ardalionovitch did not tell me that... Forgive me. I dared to offer you 10,000 roubles, but I was wrong. I ought to have done it differently. And now there is no way of doing it, for you despise me." "I declare this is a lunatic asylum," cried Lizabetha Prokofievna. "Of course it is a lunatic asylum," repeated Aglaya sharply, but her words were overpowered by other voices. Everybody was talking loudly, making remarks and comments. Some discussed the affair gravely, others laughed. Ivan Fedorovitch Epanchin was extremely indignant. He stood waiting for his wife with an air of offended dignity. Lebedeff's nephew took up the word again. "Well, prince, to do you justice, you certainly know how to make the most of your, let us call it, infirmity, for the sake of politeness. You have set about offering your money and friendship in such a way that no self-respecting man could possibly accept them. This is an excess of ingenuousness or of malice. You ought to know better than anyone which word best fits the case." "Allow me, gentlemen," said Gavrila Ardalionovitch, who had just examined the contents of the envelope. "There are only 100 roubles here, not 250. I point this out, prince, to prevent misunderstanding." Never mind," said the prince, signing to him to keep quiet. "But we do mind," said Lebedeff's nephew vehemently. "Prince, your 'never mind' is an insult to us. We have nothing to hide. Our actions can bear daylight. It is true that there are only 100 roubles instead of 250, but it is all the same." "Why, no, it is hardly the same," remarked Gavrila Ardalionovitch with an air of ingenuous surprise. "Don't interrupt. We are not such fools as you think, Mr. Lawyer," cried Lebedeff's nephew angrily. "Of course there is a difference between 100 roubles and 250, but in this case the principle is the main point, and that 150 roubles are missing is only a side issue. The point to be emphasized is that Burdovsky will not accept your highness's charity. He flings it back in your face, and it scarcely matters if there are 100 roubles or 250. Burdovsky has refused 10,000 roubles. You heard him. He would not have returned even 100 roubles if he was dishonest. The 150 roubles were paid to Tchebarov for his travelling expenses. You may jeer at our stupidity and at our inexperience in business matters. You have done all you could already to make us look ridiculous, but do not dare to call us dishonest. The four of us will club together every day to repay the 150 roubles to the prince, if we have to pay it in instalments of a rouble at a time, but we will repay it with interest. Burdovsky is poor, he has no millions. After his journey to see the prince, Tchebarov sent in his bill. We counted on winning. Who would not have done the same in such a case?" "Who indeed?" exclaimed Prince S. "I shall certainly go mad if I stay here," cried Lizabetha Prokofievna. It reminds me," said